Okay, Beyonders, welcome back to Tabletop and Beyond. This is the Winning War Cry segment, the one that I know all of you have been waiting for. We are here. Jason's here with me, and we've got a special guest today, Warren, a.k.a. War Machine, a.k.a. the master of the Dayton Wargaming Club. Welcome to the show, Warren. Welcome back to the show, Warren.
2 times, yeah. Great to be on.
I think we kind of need to get a jacket for some of these people, like something to wear, like a master's jacket or something,
Yeah, we get a T&B letter, and then we can give you little like rivets that you can put it for every time you're on the show.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it's a thing. I mean, we're gonna have to do something with it, but yeah, we're happy to have you here, Warren. Dan is missing with us tonight because he's probably catching up on sleep. I think, as we mentioned the last time, he had a new baby. So congratulations to Dan Herrera and his wife, who did all of the work, but he's there for moral support and probably, like I said, hopefully catching up on some sleep. We hope to have him back next time, and yeah, it'll be great. So we got a great show for everybody today. We are going to talk about a couple of things. One, we're going to hit our hobby table per the usual. We're going to talk about the recent reveal that was exposed to us in the Not Warhammer 40K preview that was done on July 1st. We're going to talk about the Royal Beastflayers, and I'm excited to get into them. And we're going to talk about the NOVA Open and Justin's maybe misguided decisions on some of the scenarios that he did. And I think Warren's here to really educate on what Justin could have done better, maybe to choose some different missions there. And this may or may not
can do better.
Still can do better because we're not that close to the NOVA Open that I cannot make some changes. So we're going to talk through that a little bit today and some of the pros and cons of that approach. But of course, let's get into our hobby table. Jason, what you working on, buddy?
Oh, man, I'm working on, let me see if I can share my screen here. I say that every time. Let me see if I can. Well, I'm gonna. Right, there's my, yep, let's move that over there. There you go. Wow. So my Ashkeron, True Blades, they're coming along. They're actually way further than this right here, but this is the latest picture that I have of them. So you can see the color scheme. I'm kind of going for the monk color scheme here, right, with the yellow and reds and oranges. I'm really happy with the skin. Like I started with with just a normal like pink flesh tone underneath, and then I started to layer and layer up pallid witch flesh on it, so it has that undertone of like a normal human. So my guys and gals, actually, because there are both in this warband, in the models at least, they are like just starting to really turn into their vampiric progression right now. So I actually I don't have a really good camera, but I'm really happy with them, and I'm doing a dojo style. So I have my yellow belts, which are like my chaff, and then I've got my this is an older picture again, but I got my blue belts, which are going to be like the the fighters, and then these guys, my leader is going to have a black belt, and then the I don't know what you call him, but the big guy will be my brown belt. So they'll I'm excited to get those guys all finished because I want to get them on the table and play with them. And these are just my temporary painted bases. Somebody chewed me out about my bases once. They're like, your bases suck. I'm like, those are just temporary bases that I'm painting them on right now. But anyway, so I'm excited. I'm having fun with it, man. It's taken me longer than I would expect because I'm really had to kind of figure out the flesh tone. Kind of get happy with the flesh tone and the hair and kind of what I wanted to do with them, but I think I've got it figured out right now. You can see I kind of toyed with this rope's a different color than that rope, like I was still kind of figuring out, but I feel like I've got it figured out now what I want to do with it. So that's what's on my table.
Oh, very good, very good. Warren, how you doing? What's on your table?
1 sec here. Can I share a screen?
Yeah, I believe you can.
I have some visual aids here too. Well, here.
Yeah.
So I have, you can't really see right now, but just came off the painting table. I was painting right before coming on. I got a Crypt Horror. Yep. I got a Abhorrent Ghoul King with minus tactical rock. And I got a Vargulf Courtier. So expansions for my Flesh Eater Quartz. Nice. A warband near and dear to Jason's heart.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And let's see here. Present.
It's listen, Flesh Eater Courts is still a very solid warband.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, very solid warband, and I'm surprised that we don't see it more on the competitive tables. To be honest with you,
we saw it at Adepticon.
Adepticon,
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the expansion to my list is very, very. It's actually modeled exactly after Kyle Smith's Adepticon list. The double Crypt Horror, Ghoul King, Vargulf plus.
That was a great list. Yeah, I played that list. I couldn't outrun it. That Vargulf was with my ogres. I could, but he was that Vargulf was a problem for sure.
Hopefully it pays off for me. So I'm gonna clock to get this done though, because I need to get this done by the time I leave town. I'm going up to Wisconsin to go visit my family, and I'm bopping over to Minnesota for the tournament, that narrative-based tournament that's happening in St. Paul.
Nice.
So I got to get it done by then. Nothing like a deadline to make sure you get your stuff done.
Yeah.
I think we've got some. I think we got some crew up in Wisconsin too, right? In Madison, are you going to be near Madison?
Yep, I will be. I'm already chatted with the Dogs of Warcry folks.
Yeah,
already made arrangements on the way back to meet up somewhere and play some of them as well.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah, that Vargulf. That Vargulf is no joke when he gets that triple.
Oh yeah.
I'm hoping he's going to bully around a lot of players.
It is a model that could use an update, my opinion. It's an old resin. Is it still a resin? The one that you got? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't have too hard a time putting it together. I did do some pinning on it. Sculpt wise, it's kind of ugly, but hey, it's Flesh Eater Courts, so I painted uglier models.
Yeah, totally. Old school orcs, fantasy orcs, for sure. Very good. Well, I can't wait to see them. Are you playing at Gen Con? Are you planning to play in that tournament?
I am a game time decision for Gen Con.
Okay.
We went last year. The way things were, I had a really busy work week. Plus, it was also like the week that all those previews hit. Now, so that was a lot to take in too, right? Or all the 2.0 compendium stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I went to Gen Con, and I was just, I went there. I played well. I had a good time, but I was just like mentally exhausted. wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah.
So, and I've been kind of like just pedal to the metal. If I have the mental energy to go, I'll go. But otherwise, I might just, take the weekend off. So
I
call it 50-50 at this point.
We had originally signed up for that Gen Con tournament, but as we were looking at schedules of things that we needed to do and games we really wanted to play, it just that Gen Con, that Warcry tournament taking up that big chunk of Saturday time, was just unfortunately interfering with plans that we couldn't really move around. There's only a couple of games that we really wanted to play that fell in that same time, and so we ended up pulling out of the Warcry tournament, unfortunately. And but we'll see everybody again at the Nova Open, right? So it'll be good. I think I might bop over there because I think they're they'll still be playing when I've got a dinner break, and I think I'll just pop over there and check in with everybody and see how it's going. So
we'll swing by. The guys that we're going to Gen Con with, most except for one of them, all of them are like RPG and board gamers. So we're basically going to hang out with the group that we're going to Gen Con with.
Yeah, pretty much. So anyway, for my hobby table, I woke up in the middle of the night with in a sweaty panic, thinking about all the terrain tables that I need to have for the Nova Open, because we have sold out of all of the tickets, 32 tickets. And we got a couple of people on the waiting list as well. And so I'm really excited about that. I think that 32 people, if they all show, will be the biggest Warcry tournament in the United States, or maybe even in North America. How big was LVO?
Adepticon was they expanded up the Adepticon tournament to 40, didn't they?
I think they only had 26 that showed.
Yeah, only 20, less than 30 showed.
Yeah.
What about
Not on the narrative, on the GT.
Oh, okay.
On
The
the
narrative
GT.
day was okay.
Yeah, narrative
day
was huge.
was huge, right? Yeah. So I'm talking like competitive grand tournament style, right? So this will be the large, like if we have everybody show up, this will be the largest.
It's going to be like
competitive
baseball stats. Whenever
Okay.
there was a rain on the Tuesday
Largest in the
before
US.
the game.
Largest
Yeah.
in the U.S.
There you
Yeah,
go.
because
Because
did Canada have a bigger one?
GW last December.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They had a bigger Warcry tournament there?
Yes.
Oh. Who all went?
Justin's like my nightmares.
Everybody went to GW headquarters for it.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, okay. So I said North America. I'm saying North America.
Oh, yeah. Not North America.
North America. Yeah, totally. Because they have regular, like,
Yeah, they were building it up with the
tournaments.
weeklies
Totally.
and etc.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I can't compete with Nottingham, but one day maybe I will. One day. I see you got a ringer there.
Tech miniatures.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I woke up in the middle of the night in a panic, thinking like, oh my gosh, like terrain, I need more terrain, and I realized, oh, I've got 2 boxes. I got the Sundered Fate box that I still need to paint, and then I've got the Nightmare Quest that I need to assemble and paint. So I have been assembling that, and I did an oopsie the other day. I'm going to share my screen here because it's kind of funny. Let's see. Okay. All right. So what I ended up doing is I ended up accidentally putting this giant ziggurat together, right? The Seraphon temple. Okay. And you'll notice that right here, let me scroll in so that I can point this out better. You'll notice that right here is a platform, right? Yeah, totally. Right here, there's no platform. On the back side, there is a platform. And on the other side, which you can't see right now, there is no platform. I accidentally built it so there was platform here and platform here, right? So it's not like a platform on opposite sides. It's just like on, connecting sides. And it made an issue with me gluing the top together, but everything was like totally glued together. And I'm like, well, I'm not pulling this thing apart. So it's fine. Like it ended up working out fine, but it's just funny because I'll have a platform here and a platform here. And I said, oh, you know what? If I stick this in the back of the table or the back of the board, then people got the platforms on both sides that they can, get on and play with. So hopefully that doesn't cause too many issues. We'll see. But but I've been building those, and I plan to paint all of that stuff and have it ready for Nova, so that we'll have a bunch of boards. So
everybody's going to complain. Well, I had to play on the broken terrain board.
Pretty
Wasn't
much
assembled right.
Pretty much. Maybe I'll give somebody like a sticker that says I played on the broken ziggurat and I survived or something. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's basically where I am with my hobby table. So good times. Do you guys like assembling stuff? Do you like assembling miniatures and terrain?
I love building stuff. I get in trouble because having gray plastic that's on sprue bothers me. But then once it's built, I'm like, okay, it can sit for a while.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm painting now, but I'm just coming off of a massive build cycle where I was doing a lot of building and kit bashing. Mm-hmm. And then once I finally say, all right, that's enough building, let's get to painting. And then I prime a whole box full of stuff, and then it sits here for a while before it actually makes it to the painting table. Yeah, it's a lot of energy for me to like set up, like get the wet palette out and get the paint out. If I can just, if I don't have a lot of energy, I can sit down and just build a few miniatures, no problem. It doesn't take a whole lot. So that's tends to be one of my happy places.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool.
I like building because when my wife is like, it's time for you to come upstairs and do family time.
Yep.
Like,
just
fine.
Put it all down and you can go. You're not committed.
Well, there's that too. But I say, okay, so what are we doing? And she says, we're watching a movie that and I think in my mind, well, I've seen that 1,000 times, and she's like, we're going to watch The Sound of Music. Okay. you know? And so I bring all of my models upstairs and I set it in front of me and I just build it while we're watching The Sound of Music, you know, and make random comments to give the impression that I'm totally engaged, which I'm not, you know? So
it's a good thing she
But
doesn't
it
listen to the podcast.
yeah, that's right. That's right. She might be listening from back there. All right. Well, anyway. So, all right. Sweet. Well, let's talk about our reveals. Let's talk about the news that we got, right? Let's start with the Cruel Boys. So we had these Cruel Boys. What I don't even know what they're called right now. The Monster Killers. That's what their warband name is. The Monster Killers. And these were revealed again on July 1st at the Not 40K preview. Warren, were you watching this live or did you catch it later?
I caught it later.
Yeah. So when you guys saw this for the first time, what was your initial impression? Like, what stood out to you?
I was a little underwhelmed. I was like, okay, Cruel Boys. Oh, yeah, okay, monkeys are kind of cool, but yeah, I think it would have been more in place with these quarterly gear boxes as opposed to a standalone after the fact. The timing is just kind of weird.
So I feel like they're the same afterthought that the Chaos Legionnaires were. You know what I mean? Like the Chaos Legionnaires kind of came out of the heart of Gur, and everybody's like, "What? What are these guys? Like, where did this come out from?" Right? So yeah, interesting. What do you think, Jason? What was your first impression of these guys?
First impression was someone in GW land has art department has an obsession with baboons right now. Given this and the Flesh Eater Court, like right next to each other, and they look like the Flesh Eater Court ones. They may not look like it in person, but the pictures make it all look like they're a baboon, just kind of on its hands and on its fours. But I've always really liked the Cruel Boys aesthetic. I know some people have mixed feelings about it, but and some people like when they think of orcs, they like to think of like the goofy side of orcs. I like these because these are how I've always known orcs in fantasy. They're closer to what I've pictured, like the almost closer to like the the Uruk-hai and the Lord of the Rings and that kind of thing. The real like fearsome, hardened, battle worn,
the cunning ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this dude's face looks like. I almost zoom in. This dude's face looks like the dude in the Lord of the Rings that ends up like leading the battle at Osgiliath.
Yeah, with the oranges. He had like the orange skin though, right? Yeah. A couple. So that's the first impression was the art directions. Like somebody really has an obsession with the monkey thing going on right now, but. The other thing is, whenever I look at a warband that's only got 8, nowadays, whereas like I think really competitive lists depending on the mission pack that you play, like 8 is like a minimum number now. It seems like, or you really, unless you're doing your Stormcast Elite stuff, I think you can really struggle with objective based games unless those things can really get in there and they're not super squishy. And I know in the past Cruel Boys
squishy.
Yeah, they've been squishy and they don't like the little guys don't ever really hit hard. And isn't that the case? I mean, I feel like that was always your impression is like the really expensive Cruel Boy models really didn't put their weight behind their swings in terms of point cost versus damage output.
Yeah, I mean they got better, right? The Warriors, like they ended up like with the Wicked Stickers and stuff like that. Like they ended up getting better. I still wouldn't call them good per se. I mean I think they can fill a table. I just worry. I mean these 3 guys are clearly your chaff models, right? I'm worried that they're going to cost like 80-90 points. For what they do. They're
going to be 80-90. They're going to be like 1-3 or 1-4.
Yeah, exactly.
And 3 toughness.
So you're gonna have this little guy that's like 2 toughness, and I don't know, like he's like the next Potgrot, basically, right? Like, which Potgrots aren't terrible points wise, cost wise, but they just won't do much for you on the board, right?
He kind of looks like he could be like a Brugit-ish guy. Like he's carrying this egg around and he can like do something special with it to buff up the boss.
Hopefully, yeah.
I do like that. I do like that. And the little mascot aesthetic never gets old, right? Pot grot, stab grot, egg grot,
Egg grot. I love it. So my first impression when I saw this is like, ooh, this boss guy, he looks really cool, but I actually do not want to paint him.
No, same thing.
Oh, look at all of these little trinkets that you have to just spend all this time on doing. And that was one of my issues with the Cruel Boys. Otherwise, like the swamp collar shaman, the Killaboss on Nash 2, for even the Killaboss regular, like they just had so many stupid little trinkets that you're like, well, I can't paint these all brown because that's just not gonna do, right? So it's like I've got 14 bottles to paint on this stupid swamp collar shaman. And they need to be different hues of blue.
Yeah,
and purple,
but you've already got all those 14 bottles.
Yeah, right. so I just look at this and I'm just like, I don't know that I want to paint all of that. So that was my first thing. But I will say this though, these monkey baboon things that we have here are, in my opinion, way better than the weird dog baboons that we saw with the the Beastflayers. And we'll kind of talk about them a little bit today, but I think that aesthetically they look better. The other ones they weirded me out. It was like some creation from the Hunger Games, So
I feel like
they might grow on me.
Oh, you don't like them right now?
Or the Beastflayer ones?
I think I'm just, these ones might grow on me. I think we're a little bit 2 in a row. I think we're a little bit monkeyed out, or I am, but they might grow on me.
Yeah.
So
I do think that these fit more. I do feel like these fit more in a warband with Cruel Boys, just from an aesthetic and a lore perspective. I've already, Justin, we've talked offline about I kind of struggle with the lore on Flesh Eater Courts and having kind of like Beast Hound pet thingies, but I feel like these art-wise fit very well with the rest of the models in it. But
yeah,
that's my thoughts, and I'm with you. I'm feeling a little monkeyed out.
Okay, so we had some real winners in terms of warbands. We've had some winners, we've had some losers, right? I think Rotmeyer Creed is a winner. Horns of Heshut is a winner in terms of we're talking Warcry 2.0. I think the jury is still out, but leaning favorably towards the Jade Obelisk as being a decent warband, right? I think we need to see him in action a little bit more. I think the Huan Chi suck. That's my opinion. I know some people are like, oh, but if you only modify every single little guy, they're good. Like that's a problem, right? I think the Stormcast as a warband, I think we decided last week, maybe not that great, but individually to augment as allies, like they're really amazing that way, right? And so they're kind of like a maybe. And we're going to talk about the Royal Beastflayers today. Where do you think these guys are going to fall? Do you think in the spectrum of amazing and they totally suck? Where do you think that they'll fall?
It depends. Are you talking one warband? Or are you talking about all it takes is
one warband, straight warband? Because Horns of Heshut straight warband is actually pretty good. Do you know what I mean?
A bespoke warband.
I mean, like one box, 2 boxes,
1 box.
I think they're all limited at 1 box.
Yeah,
even Horns and Rotmeyer.
I totally agree, but I'm just saying, straight out of the box, Rotmeyer Cree is actually a decent bespoke warband.
In terms of overall play experience, if you're new,
yeah, sure.
I think these guys will probably be all right. I think one of the things, so you're going to have some models that kind of do nothing, like smaller models, but you have 3 models. With 8 models, you're going to have 3 models. The leader plus probably the 2 baboons are probably going to be fairly decent mid-range fighters around 140, 160. So they're going to be impactful models to play with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think, Jason? Where do you think they fall on the spectrum?
I don't know. depends on what the abilities are that pop. That drummer guy is probably going to have a buff ability.
Yeah.
Well, you could have either. He could have a
The
buff
buff
ability or a
that nobody
debuff.
ever uses.
Yeah, well, there's that, right? But I don't know. I think that they might be average. Those chaff are probably going to be more expensive than they should be. The monkeys will probably be on par with, something that can maybe move a little bit faster because they're maybe jumping around, and maybe they probably have like a 2-4 hit profile. Maybe. We'll see.
And I think ultimately their place in the game is going to be determined by the abilities. I think I think probably something we'll talk about later today as well with the Beastflayers.
Yeah. I hope, this is my hope, that the monkey guys here have the fly keyword where they can ignore the terrain, right? Like it's like they're climbing up the terrain like super fast, and I think that would be awesome. So instead of the double ability that makes you ignore terrain or something like that, right? Like,
well, they could have the double jump. They could have the double jump where, if you're within 6 or 8 inches of an enemy on a double, you can do another movement, an additional
like the
movement.
Yeti.
Yeah, like the Yeti or the there's a couple other that have it too.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense for these guys. Like, they're doing that last jump to get to you.
So I wanted to show you this really quickly before we move on. This is what our off-meta musings friend posted on Facebook.
Saw this.
Oh man, it's not letting me go in. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to share my other screen because it was.
He put it up on Discord too.
Oh, did he? Okay, all right.
He put up on Discord, and I think on his YouTube maybe as well.
Let me try this real quick. I have it pulled up. Hold on 1 second.
He's being very careful not to show his wife workout videos right now.
Or the motivational.
Yeah.
So this is. He said, "Here's my next warband." Like it's all monkeys.
Yeah, saw that.
You had you've got the 2 from the Cruel Boys, the 2 from the Beastflayers. You've got the monkey with the knife in the tail from the ogres, and I can't remember what model this is. Is this I think it's one of the cities models, isn't it?
The one on the top left.
I got no idea.
I have no idea either. It looks like some sort of a pirate thing going on though.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it's just hilarious, right? Like all the monkeys. And I think this just totally goes with what you're saying, Jason. Somebody at GW right now really loves monkeys, So, yeah. Well, let's talk real quick about a subject that came up 2 days ago. And I had some very strong opinions about it. It is this Warcry starter set that was revealed. And I think there's a few things that we need to talk about it. It's called Warcry Crypt of Blood. It's a brand new small-scale starter set designed to help new players break into this exhilarating game with minimal fuss. Okay? It contains 2 warbands, which are a little smaller than usual, a.k.a. 2 Underworlds warbands, right? And you can either play as the Golden Armored Storecast Eternals of Zandir's Truthseekers, or the arrogant vampiric nobles of the Crimson Court. So you basically have 2 Underworlds boxes that's in here with a smattering of terrain. As you can see here, it's 1 section of fence, 1 wall, another section of fence, another half wall, and a crypt, and some sort of weird statue that is part of the mausoleum set that you can find. Now, I think the statue and the tomb is from something else.
That terrain is all new. Because this was all leaked a few months ago, and the enhanced crew already did a number on it. It is styled after the existing mausoleum terrain, but if you compare this side by side with mausoleum terrain, it's more crooked. So it's of the style, but it's new. This is all new sculpt, and probably all one new sprue.
Yep. So you've got 1 sprue with the Zandir's Truthseekers, which is I think 4 Stormcast Eternals models, and then you've got 1 sprue that has a Crimson Court on it, which I believe is 4 or 5. 4. models. Yep. And then you've got, as you said, Warren, I think that's right on. You have this terrain, which this terrain looks like it's pretty clippable and ready to go, with the exception of maybe the little tower in the middle and the tomb of blood. The rest of it's just going to clip off in one piece, probably minimal fuss of gluing and stuff like that. So makes it a little bit easier to put everything together. So, Jason, what do you think of this?
All right. So you're trying to put me in the middle here because I know how you feel about it. All right. So I've bought several starter sets for different games over the years. This feels right to me in terms of scale as a intro pack, right? Like another one that was like this was years ago was Mech Warrior. If you wanted to get into Mech Warrior, it was a very tiny little box that had like 4 total, like 2 on either side. A little play mat that you'd lay out. And I don't even think it had real terrain. I think it had cardboard thingies. There's been some Learn to Play 40K stuff that had cardboard cutout stuff, Infinity, I think Warren, you or someone else was talking about it. Infinity is a low model count game to begin with, but they also have, some starter set stuff that goes into it. Feels right from an early point of like, I'm not sure I want to get into modeling, but this seems really cool. I'm going to get it and play with one friend or like my brother or something like that. That feels fine. What's really going to be set my real impression of it is the price point. That's what's going to be really important because like has been said with a lot of people, and then I'll turn the mic over, right? If we really are just trying to figure out if you want to play a minis game and the price is right, it's not too overwhelming. If the price is wrong, then you're buying a set to get started with that you're going to have to go put more money down to even get a full warband to really play anywhere else besides your home with your friend. And that could potentially be disruptive to people if they don't know that. And if it's not very clearly expressed going in that this is going to be fun, but you're going to have to drop at least another $50 to go buy a box somewhere to put it together. That's my thoughts. Also, I don't think that's a real mat. I think it's going to be one of their like plastic.
I heard it might actually be cardboard and not paper, but the pictures made it look like the paper.
Yeah, totally.
That was just what some folks were saying. I'm not sure.
The glossy layout, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
It might very well be the paper, like the Kill Team one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to say why I hate this because I'm going to tee Warren up to rebut.
It does come with dice.
And does it?
I think it said it came with dice.
Is that going to make or break it for you?
I know, right? Because none of us have dice.
Okay. All right. So it comes with fighter and ability cards for both warbands, alongside 18 dice and a Warcry token board with a range ruler and 63 tokens to help you keep track of your wounds. So it comes with stuff to get started for sure, right? And a 72-page Crypt of Blood book with some lore and 7 battle plans. And so
be some really cool art because GW always has really good art in all of their books.
So I'm gonna say why I hate this so that Warren can come in and save the day, basically, right? So look, I feel like this is a mega cash grab from GW, who probably didn't sell enough of the Zandirs, True Seekers, and the Crimson Court to their liking. So they said, okay, let's gin up a little bit extra terrain. We'll throw these sprues in here, and we'll make all our money back on the models that we didn't sell. Right? Like I just feel like it's repackaged in a way of just like, well, the Underworlds people didn't like these, so we're going to market these to maybe the Warcry people. So that's part of my cynical view of this. Okay, and I'll be totally transparent that this is a cynical view. Okay, so 1, it's a cash grab. 2, to your point that you said earlier, Jason, which was, the price point's going to be critical. I totally agree with you there. The problem is that it is just a deception. I know that it's a price point for entry, But if you do want to get into this more, like, you are going to have to spend as much as if you had just gotten the first box already. You can't plus up this warband without getting another full warband somewhere else, or another box of like zombies. It's like 20 zombies, or another box of I mean something else that you would have to like plus up that is going to cost you as much as if you had just gotten into it in the first place. And now I'm not saying that you have to go out and buy a whole starter set, like a Heart of Gur or something like that to get into it. Like, you could pick up one of the Warcry boxes and have something to get started. Now, you are missing the terrain. I get you are also missing the dice and the ruler and the tokens and all that. Well, not the tokens. Usually if you get a Warcry box, it comes with enough tokens for you in there. But you're missing the dice, the ruler, no, you get the cards in the Warcry box too. So, like, you're missing some of the starter essentials. Like, I get that. But if you do want to get into this, you're going to find that you will have spent as much money as if you had wanted to get started with a normal warband anyway. And now you've got these two warbands that you may or may not be able to play with all of them or just some of them in your warband. Like, so, I just feel like the plus up is the cost of entry anyway, if you enjoy it, right? So that's sort of my issue with it. Now, speaking from a veteran Warcry player, I know, Warren, okay, I'm going to say this. It's a brand new small scale starter set designed to help new players break into this exhilarating game. Okay, I know that they said it, but speaking as a veteran Warcry player, I just think it's really dumb. I think it's dumb. I don't think it helps new players that much, really. But if I'm a veteran Warcry player, if it's like $80, it's probably going to be about 100 though, I think. But if it's like $80, I actually, believe it or not, I actually might think about picking it up, because it is two Underworlds warbands that can be difficult to find in certain places, and the price point might be right to pick this kit up rather than everything separately, right? So, as a veteran Warcry player, the price point has to be right for me to be interested in this, and I don't have to have the models there already, right? The warband. So, anyway, those are all the reasons why I hate this starter set. Over to you, Warren.
So I agree with Jason on pretty much all of his points. The game needs a starter set like this for new players to come in. Something well below the 165 or 185 or higher price point for those quarterly box sets that come with all the terrain. In the description, it does say it's a paper mat, a little bit down below. The 4v4. Yep. The 4v4 is not necessarily a deal breaker for new players. I teach the game. I've taught the game to a number of players. I have them go out with full 1,000-point warbands, but I can see where a new player, it might be a little bit overwhelming. 4v4, a little bit less so. And I think other players, they actually do teach the game with smaller size warbands, like 600 points. Lack of terrain, not necessarily a deal breaker in this game either. It doesn't look great, but it doesn't necessarily negatively impact gameplay. Compare that with the starter kit for Kill Team, which is also two teams in a very sparse terrain, and in a game where the terrain actually matters for shooting.
Right, that's true.
Right, yeah. So I'm drawing a direct comparison to that. And this is also going to be an evergreen product. It'll come out and it will remain in production, remain in stores after the quarterly boxes or whatever have all come and gone. Right, Kill Team, all those quarterly boxes have come and gone. You can still get, at least here in the U.S., that Kill Team starter kit. So for all those reasons, I think it's a good thing. Now, the matter of price, which is the one thing that's going to make or break this, just like Jason said. My bet is $99. I've been saying this since I saw it because the precedent for the Kill Team box set also at $99. It's that magical price point that says, okay, yeah, it's not $100. This is something I can get in, and it will draw people in by that price point. Now, I'm not happy about it being $99 because what you get for it, you get two. You compare this to the Kill Team one, you get 2 10-man teams plus the terrain. And at $99 is still a good deal because those two teams are $60 separately retail.
Yeah.
So even if you're doing nothing else, and just taking the two teams, you're getting good value by, relatively speaking, by GW plastic value. At $99, this is not good value by GW standards, but that's probably where they're going to go with it. At $80, I think if this was $79, this would fly off the shelves like hotcakes and be super popular. But I don't trust GW to do that. They'll claim price of business is going up, inflation's going up. We got to sell that. We got to give you less for the same amount. Mm-hmm. So I won't be surprised, but I will be disappointed when it comes at $99.
Yeah, those are my same thoughts too. The Kill Team box is just such a good amount for what you get. 20 models plus scatter terrain, plus dice, plus measurement tools, plus tokens, plus mini rule book.
It didn't come with the measurement tools. The Kill Team Essentials was a separate one, and it came with the mini rule book.
Well, the Recruit Edition comes with the measuring tools.
Oh, you're talking about 40K.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. The Kill Team.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Kill Team starter at $99. Yeah. The various smaller AOS or the very smaller 40K ones. Yeah. Yeah. Those are incomplete games too, right? Like 5 Marines versus 10 Necrons is not a very interesting game, but it gets you in for pocket change. Yeah. You got to also consider people's means as well, right? $99 is not a small amount of money to put down. And asking for triple digits is even more so. It's an expensive hobby we have, and you want to get people in as cheap as possible on the ground floor. Get them hooked.
I agree. But the point's the same, right? It's not a lot of plastic for the money if it's $100 for this set, but I think that I think there's a good chance it's going to be $100 because of the cost of business and where the cost of other mini-based war game boxes are today. $80, it would fly off the shelves, I think, for sure. I'm curious to see how many people would actually go to a game store, get a demo, learn to play, and then have people kind of see, there you go. It does come with the that's the 40K Kill.
Oh, it does. You're right. Okay.
And this is $100 for the 40K Kill Team starter set. Check this out. I was looking at it. 22 Citadel miniatures, right?
Yeah.
6 barricades, 6 pieces of orc terrain.
There's a lot of stuff.
No, you're right.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean we're saying the same thing over and over again. I guess my curiosity is, if people are going to learn to play Warcry by either watching YouTube, going into a game store, seeing demos, seeing them at things, they're going to see not this. They're going to see a full warband on a full warband being played when they watch it on YouTube, when they go to tournaments, conventions, when they go into game stores. People will be there like you, Warren, to teach them in a small-scale battle. But when they go to see and experience the game and see it, they're going to see the real scale. So how many of those people are going to be pointed towards a smaller box that won't allow them to actually hit the table fully to experience that themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put this on display, right? It doesn't have that wow factor, right? I put out a nice dense table of fully painted terrain, and I get random folks walking by saying, "Hey, cool, what is this?" Let me tell you.
I honestly think it needs to be $80. Because I think that I didn't look up and see how much each of those are both of those Underworlds boxes about $40 each.
Yeah.
So I think you have to throw in the terrain for free, quote unquote. Do you know what I mean?
But they're not going to. But they won't do that.
But I think you need to, because I think that's the price point. Like, I mean, you look at the AOS starter boxes, and usually it was like, you're paying full price for the 10 infantry models you got 3 cavalry, you got a hero, and then there was a big model that essentially came for free. in that box. You know what I mean? Because that was like the whole point of having that box together. Is that there was one, like if you had bought everything equally, it was more than the sum of the the sum of the individual parts was more than the sum of the total, right? So I think it's got to be $80. That's my opinion. So
I'd love for it to be true. I will be the first person to say I was wrong. I'm very, very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
If you want another price point for comparison, look at Warhammer Underworld's Weird Hollow. Yep. No terrain, comes with cards, and that's at a 95 price point now. Right. I believe that's one of the most recent Underworld sets.
Yep.
Yep.
It'll be interesting for sure. Yeah. I'll be interested to see how it is. It'll just be great when I say that I was right about everything. But I mean, like whatever, it doesn't even matter. So awesome. All right, well, everybody, keep your eyes out for these new releases, and you let us know what you think in the comments. Obviously, this debate won't end until we start seeing this on the shelf and for pre-order. So we'd love to hear what you all think about these as well. Let's move on. Let's move on to our faction focus, which we have talked about. Is the Royal Beastflayers, right? So this is the other half of the Nightmare Quest box that was put out. Last time we talked about the Quester Soulsworn, and this week we're going to talk about the Royal Beastflayers. So let's start where I generally like to start when I'm evaluating a warband, and let's start with the abilities of some of these models. You can see that there's not too many because it is one of the bespoke warbands, right? It's not like a Skaven one that seems to have about 1 billion abilities that they can use. Let's talk about this. Warren, you are building these right now, right? Do you like the reaction, which is Tenacious Hunters? After a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter makes a disengage action, allocate D3 damage points to that fighter. It's basically just a gut punch when you leave, right?
Not a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Jason?
It's a double.
It's a reaction. It's a reaction.
Yeah, the reaction. I don't know, man. Every time I roll a D3, I get a 1.
Yeah, right.
Every time I roll a D3, I get a 1.
I think you have to ask yourself: Is the action ability that I am giving up worth 1 damage point? Because that's that's the point that you're going to do. Is it 1 point and it's going to kill the dude? Maybe I would use it then, right? But
I think I would rather go for the community one, the universal one, and just have a 50-50 chance to do a D6.
Yeah,
because that's what the universal is, right? You just roll a dice on a 4+ and you do D6.
Yeah, it's just a version of striking them down, which never comes up in play.
Well, it comes up in play when for some reason a really big guy needs to disengage from a chaff model for something. And I'm like, that chaff model's trying it, right? Because it's the only time he's really going to hit you anyways. But the only reason I would use this is if like the guy just needs 1 more point of damage and he's trying to get away. But then
how situational is that though?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, when is that going to come up?
Terrible. Yeah, not good. Okay, all right. So let's get in here. Warren, what are some of your favorite abilities that the Royal Beastflayers have?
Sound the Hunt and Pack Tactics. Those are the 2 that came up.
Yeah. Okay. We'll start with Sound the Hunt. It's a double. Pick a number of visible friendly fighters equal to half the value of this ability. Okay. All right. So you could get up to 3 friendly fighters, right, that are within 3 inches of this fighter. Those fighters can each make a bonus move action of a number of inches equal to the value of this ability. Okay. All right. So you're really tapping into the value of this ability here. You're using half of it to determine the number of fighters, and then the full value of the ability to determine the number of inches. So,
getting a high double isn't hard. Very easy to do.
Yep.
You're probably going to get the max value with a 5 or 6. You're targeting 3 models with it, and you're shooting them off 5 or 6 inches. So compare that to the Flesh Eater Quartz triple, Bringer of Death, which half the value of the ability rounding up to the move characteristic. It's got a little bit more of a little bit wider bubble, but it's harder to get that high triple. So this is easier to use and is going to give you that same sort of slingshot ability.
This is definitely also a turn 1 ability that you would use, right? Like a lot of times, like depending on the warband that I'm using, I'm not looking to use a lot of my abilities other than movement ones, right? Because you need to get into position. And so this is clearly, to me, a turn 1 ability. This is part of the Beastflayer Baron, right? Like he's the one that can use it. So you want to give it to, I mean, some of your maybe the 2 Awful Hounds. You might want to pair them with him, right? That they can then get a bonus slingshot and get out there and get into action sooner than later, right? Well, who else would you use it for?
Well, what folks were talking about when this first came out was slingshotting large models. So you ally in a large model that might be kind of slow, like you can't do a horror, but the haunter, right? So you could do a couple crypt haunters and slingshot large crypt haunters around, or you could also ally in. I mean, this is where having these powerful abilities makes it so interesting to like pick and choose like your flavor of undead soup that you want to use. You're like, oh, I want Sons of Elmorn, and I want to slingshot some Graveguard around and into combat quickly.
Yeah, definitely. That when you start thinking about the underworld or the the Bladeborn that you might be able to ally in, as well as other
Exemplar. Slingshot in the Exemplar and have him smash.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, so those are the things a lot of folks were talking about when this first came out. The thing is, it forces you to go into base Beastflayer courts because you can't ally that guy in. But again, there's a number of good heroes to give you that option. So that's one way you could take this. And unfortunately, I don't think we've seen a lot of people like play this or really experiment with it. But there's a lot here with these models.
Yeah, because there's a lot of heroes in the Death, Grand Alliance that could be a real problem. That if you just gave them a little bit of movement, like they are in your face, and it's going to be bad, right? So Death has those options. I think more than like an Order does, for example. So unleash the Hounds until the end of the battle round. Add half the value of this ability, rounding up, to the move characteristic of friendly fighters with the Royal Beastflayers rune mark, while they make a move action that starts within 3 inches of this fighter. So this is, again, a similar movement one that you could use in the first round. It is a triple, but it affects everybody that's within 3 inches, not just the half the value and up. Now, it is only half the value of the ability, meaning that you would only get a max of 3 inches rather than potentially getting 6 inches with the Sound the Hunt.
There's also there's an important difficulty with this one versus the Sound the Hunt, and that is that they have to start within 3 inches of the fighter. So in the first round, if you want to use that, you have to keep this guy back within 3 inches of them so it'll trigger.
Well, so maybe because
they have to start within 3 inches of the fighter. So if you trigger this guy's ability, and then he moves outside of 3 inches because you're trying to advance him on turn 1, they won't get the benefit. The
usual sequence of play is you pop the ability, and then you wait, and then you let everyone else that you're grouped with slingshot out, and then you just take a single move afterwards.
Totally get it, but that's a triple. On the double with the other guy, they immediately move, so it doesn't matter where they start.
Oh yeah, I see.
That's the benefit. That's why I think the double's even better.
Way easier timing.
Good point. Way easier. It's more forgiving on first round movement.
So hear me out on this, okay? It says while they make a move action that starts within 3 inches of this fighter, for each activation you can have 2 move actions. Okay, so you could activate this guy, pop the triple, move him out 3. Well, let's see, how far does he go? This is our leader, right?
5, right?
He can go 5 inches, right?
Yeah.
He can go 5 inches. But even if he goes 5 inches, the Awful Hound can make a move action, get within that bubble, and then make that other move action.
Hold on, right? Justin. Double check your rune marks.
Okay.
These are the ones that look similar.
Yep, it's the
sorry.
elite. So Unleash the Hounds is on the 95 pointers on the squires.
You're right. It's a ghoul gore squire. Thank you for catching that with me.
Still
it's
5 inches though.
Yeah, it's still 5 inches. But you could move him out still. You could still move your guys one move action, get within the bubble, and then take advantage because your second move action does start within that bubble, right? So
yeah, you can set up to get 2 moves, but it requires a little bit of work. What Jason said, it's immediate. The timing is just immediate, just like go.
Yep.
It's a little more forgiving, I think, tactically on Sound the Hunt, but you can still make good
more movement.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I think Unleash the Hounds is still a good option. The fact that you have 2 options with 2 different models in that band in round 1, if you got a triple and a double and you had both those guys positioned in different battle groups, you could be pushing things really far forward round 1.
You could do you could have a model that's already done their 2 moves and has already gone like say 10 inches across the board.
Yep.
And then you walk up the dude next to the guy and goes Sound the Hunt, and the guy gets another move.
Yeah.
You could rocket a guy 15 inches across the board.
It's significant movement. Both of these combined could be significant threat round 1.
So I think there are 3 abilities here that kind of missed the mark for me. The first one is Feed the Hounds. You can only use the ability if they take down an attack action made by them. This is universal across the Royal Beastflayers. You get to remove a number of damage points from each other friendly fighter within 3 inches of this fighter, up to the value of the ability. Okay. I feel like that's super situational because 1, you have to kill a fighter, and 2, you need to have like all these people within 3 inches of it to use it, right? So I think it kind of misses the mark. The Clambering Horrors. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say one thing about Feed the Hound, right? That makes it difficult is that it's from each other friendly fighter, so you can't heal yourself with it.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you could heal yourself with it, I would say, here for you. If I'd say if it just said friendly fighters, then I think it would be a really good double, because then anytime anyone took down someone, if you could heal with a double.
Which does make a difference when you're talking like 20 wounds, 18 wounds, 16 wounds, 8 wounds, right? Like, I mean, if you could be healing the number, like a 6 or a 4 or 5, I mean, that could be significant, right? But it is everybody else. So
yeah, because the reality is, if I have somebody within 3 inches of me and I kill someone, I'm probably going to want to use Sound the Hunt to give that person an additional movement to better position me in the chess game of Warcry. That might come up more than Feed the Hounds, but it might come up every now and then.
Situational, yeah. The Clambering Horrors, this is for our monkey boys. Until the end of the fighter's activation, do not count the vertical distance moved when this fighter is climbing. I've never been a big fan of these. Just put the fly keyword on them, please. I know they don't fly, but it's essentially the same thing. Just ignore the vertical distance, right? Like, just give them the fly keyword. Like, what's the problem here, right? Like, give them a better ability than that. I think it's kind of boring.
It could be great for that piece of terrain you didn't build properly.
That's true. Dang, dude. Yeah, you're right. Okay, Jason. And let's see, the quad here that's not like, I mean, the quad that is not a rampage, right? Like, adds 2 strength characteristic and melee attacks by visible friendly fighters while they're within 6 of this fighter. And again, that's for everybody else around, not themselves, right? Because visible friendly fighters, for some reason, they can't see themselves. But Warren, you did say that you really like pack tactics, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this is pick an enemy fighter that is visible to this fighter, allocate a number of damage points to that enemy fighter equal to twice the number of friendly fighters within 3 inches of that enemy fighter. So just automatic damage. Where do you see this working out really well, Warren?
So again, what got talked about a lot when this came out was, so this is on the leader.
Yeah.
So again, this is another option you can bring in. I'm thinking about this just as Grand Alliance Death right now. You take Royal Flaymaster, put it in your skeleton horde or zombie horde generic Soulblight Gravelords
Yep.
list, and bam, 8 points, bam, 10 points to a guy for a triple.
Yeah, that's significant.
It's not always going to go off that much, but what's the value of a triple, right? I think you're happy if you're getting 6 damage out of a triple.
Oh yeah.
And it can go up from there. So again, this is another, this is just another angle you can take. There's all these just Grand Alliance death in general, right? You want big hitter heroes, you want a flyer hero, you want a King Velmorn package. The sky's the limit. There's so much brewing you could do in Grand Alliance death right now.
So what I'm hearing is that the abilities here, what we have is great for Grand Alliance death. Is this great for the Royal Beastflayers? Like, are they okay? So let's look at their stats and see, like, do you take the Royal Flaymaster and go put him in a different list because these other fighters are okay, or who do you ally in, that type of thing, or can you just take him out of the box with just a couple of tweaks, right? So looking at the Royal Flaymaster, the leader, he's kind of critical, right? Both as an ally to other warbands and as you've got to have him as the leader if you're to ally anybody in. Range 2, 3 attacks, 4 strength, 3/5 damage for 175 points. He does move 5 inches. Toughness 4, 20 wounds. Do you think that's about the right amount of points for him?
I haven't sat and done the spreadsheet calculation on him. I think he's about right at 175 is on the low end for a hero, so he's probably okay.
Yeah, I always do this now because I've been playing Bone Splitters, right? And I put my compendium out there, but the Savage Big Boss, right, is like 185, and he is I think 3 attacks, strength 5, 3/6 damage maybe. 1 inch range, 4 movement. So I feel like it's about the same. You got like more strength, more damage, but less range, and less movement, right? So I think the trade-offs are about right there. So I don't know that his access to abilities are as good as like the Savage Beast, Big Boss, but I think he's got versatility in other lists. So I think that's okay. That's okay. What are some of the standout? You really only have 4 models. I mean, not 4 models, but 4 basically, types of models here. You have the Awful Hound, the Beastflayer Baron, the Ghoul Gore Squire. Wow, I'm having trouble speaking tonight. Ghoul Gore Squire, and the Ghoul Tracker. Let's start with the Ghoul Tracker real quick. Jason, do you he's 55 points, which I think puts him right on line with the ghouls of Flesh Eater Courts, right?
He has the exact same profile as the normal ghoul, except for one difference is that the normal ghoul has access to the double feeding frenzy we were just talking about, where he can actually heal himself if he kills something. Whereas this guy has the opposite, whereas if he kills something, he can spend the double to heal everyone else around him. That's within 3 inches. So that's really the only difference between these guys.
Interesting.
So it kind of depends on what you're going to use your chaff for, but at the end of the day, it is a ghoul. So I don't think.
Or do you like him at this price point? Do you like this chaff at 55 points?
I think it's fine. The Flesh Eater Court lists I've built, you always want your chaff to be cheaper than they are, but 55 points at a 3/3/1/3. The way I play Warcry, I don't use my chaff to kill things. I know Dan Herrera is exactly opposite of me. He uses them to go in and finish the day. I use mine as chess pieces that lock up bigger pieces. So 55 is usually fine for me.
Yeah, I play the same way. Protect my chaff, eat up activations, and then go after the opponent's chaff and just try to get activation advantage and leverage that.
Yep. Yeah. I look at it and I say, I'm paying 55 points to consume potentially a 200-point model's activations. Maybe not all of them, probably just one, but for one round. But and it also it does objective capture threat. So I think 55 isn't that bad for a 5 movement too. 5 movement's not bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same as a Plains Runner too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does the same job there.
Yep.
Now the Gulgor Squire is 95 points. I think he aligns pretty much with the Crypt Courtier. Is that right? Or the
Crypt Courtiers are a little beefier. Oh, you mean the Crypt Haunter? Crypt Ghast Courtier.
The Crypt Ghast. Thank you, Crypt Ghast Courtier.
Which he's actually
the leader version of the Crypt Ghouls, right?
So it's more comparable to the Crypt Ghast. The Crypt.
Okay, that's
Love the tier names right on those guys, but they're a royal family. The Crypt Ghast is 105 points at 5-3-12 versus 5-4-12 at 95 points here. The profile is, besides that, everything's the same except on the Squire. You go from a crit of 4 to a crit of 3 on the Squire.
Okay, so you added a 1 point of toughness, dropped down 1 point of crit there,
and you save yourself 10 points.
And you save yourself 10 points, and he has the access to the Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah, I think he's actually a better choice than a Crypt Ghast.
Okay. Interesting. I do too, actually. I do too. Now, the Crypt Ghast, though, is a leader, right?
He is.
Yeah. So that kind of helps. It doesn't help the Gulgor Squire at all because you can't choose him as the 95-point leader and then add in a bunch of beefy boys, right? You have to choose the Royal Flaymaster instead.
Yeah.
So,
And this guy's ability is the Unleash the Hounds. Yeah, the one we talked about there, which is the same as the other guy, the Crypt Ghast, but the Crypt Ghast is the one where it's 6 inches.
Right.
Let's see, what is it? Yeah, Bringer of Death. Until the end of the battle round, add the value of this ability rounding up to the move characteristics of friendly fighters while they make move actions that start within 6 inches of the spider. So it actually is a little better on the Bringer of Death, I would think. Because this one's only 3 inches. That one's 6 inches. Yeah. So it depends on what you're doing. If you want to do lots of movement, so you can do movement shenanigans, maybe the Crypt Ghast is better, and he's a leader, so you could bring him in and just drop your Squire if you got 10 points to spend.
Yep. All right, so we have 2 other mid-tier units now. We got the Beastflayer Baron, and they are 1 inch range. They're both this way: 1 inch range, 3 attacks, strength 4, 2/4 damage. And the only real difference between the two is that the Awful Hound has 2 inches more movement, 1 less toughness, 2 more wounds, right? So he can move around a little bit better. But the main difference is that the Awful Hound is a beast. It has a beast remark, and it's 130 points. I don't know that I love that point price for that profile.
So I saw this, and I didn't mind it. I think it was a unique, interesting price point because I was comparing this, and I could be completely wrong on this. I don't think this makes, this faction stand alone like top tier by any means, but compare Awful Hound to a Griff Hound at 115, right? It's a 4/4/2/4. It's got like 15 wounds. It moves faster, but if you're playing Stormcast, you really want to be avoiding Griff Hounds, right? I count them as like half a Stormcast, really.
Right.
Because they're just so fragile and you just don't do a lot compared to regular Stormcast. This does a little more than it doesn't hit as hard, but it stays alive a little bit better. And I don't think it's that bad compared to a Griff Hound. I wouldn't be embarrassed to take this in this faction compared to a Griff Hound and Stormcast. It's also not going to break the bank at 130. I'll compare it to Flesh Hounds, which are like 180 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they move fast, they hit hard, but you're paying a lot for that. So I think it's this interesting middle ground. they're not spectacular, but I think they're better in some ways than some of the alternatives for fast movers.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw a thought out here. So 130, if you're willing to drop a little bit from the wounds, for 130, you can get a Fellbat Thrall. And a Fellbat, Fellbat Thrall is 13324, right? So it's going to be a little bit harder to hit. 10 movement, 312. They fly, and they have the 2 Thrall abilities, where if somebody moves within inches of a leader, leader remark, they do an extra free bonus move, right, as a reaction. Yeah. Or they have the triple descent, which
it's actually a move attack, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Move and attack.
Move attack.
Yeah. So I think if you're going for movement shenanigans, I need to stop using shenanigans. It's not really shenanigans. If you're going for movement, kind of control, a Fellbat might be more but it's just going to be harder to hit with a Fellbat because you're going to be hitting on 5s and 6s most of the time. Mm-hmm. But 10 movement with a fly and the ability to do a free move and attack. And that's significant for me to think about a Fellbat over an Awful Hound.
Yeah.
And you can bring 2, right? Because you can bring 2 Thralls.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go 3.
I think. 3?
Oh,
3?
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. But point-wise, I think this bespoke kit comes with 2 Awful Hounds, right? So you could swap both of those with your Thralls. Or is it 2 or 3 Awful Hounds come in the kit?
You get 2 in the kit.
2 in the kit. Yeah, okay. Anyway, something to think about.
Now, the Beastflayer Baron, again, same attack profile. It's 115 for it. And I think you do want to take this one for the ability that we mentioned before, which was the Sound the Hunt, right? Like, he is the one that can do the Sound the Hunt. So I think if you're doing Beastflayers, Royal Beastflayers, you're going to want to make sure that you take the Beastflayer Baron for sure. So, and I think for that price point, he's fine, right? Like, he's good. He's okay.
Yeah, I double checked. He's not super great efficiency wise, but then again, you're paying for 5 movement and 2 range.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, great. So overall, Warren, it sounds like as you're looking at these guys, you're looking at, okay, how can I use these guys in combination with Grand Alliance Death? How do we import people in here to make this a better warband? How do we export the Royal Flamemaster to make other warbands better? But it sounds like out of the box, these guys are maybe middling in terms of their, like, I'd put probably Rotmire Creed and Horns of Hushit above them in terms of like just one box straight out of the box.
Probably. I think altogether, you guys would know better than I would if you guys set up like a 1-box league or your 1-box tournament or whatever. But I think what's the total number of models you get in the box? You get 3. I built them. I think you get 3 mini ghouls. You get 3 bigger ghouls at 95, 2 Awful Hounds, Baron, Leader. That's 10 models. I mean, that's not terrible for any game of Warcry.
And they've got lots of movement options to really get around the board that we just talked about. I think that they could be, with a good player, they could be above mid-tier because you could play a really strong chess game with them.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, the really interesting thing to me is just building blocks of a larger picture.
Sure. Yeah, I'm excited to see if we start seeing the Royal Beastflayers with allies, or the Flamemaster in other lists, because I think I can see both of those scenarios happening, and I can't wait to see what some of our creative community puts together for what we see. So, yeah, all right, that is our faction focus. What I do want to talk about now is our Warcry or our Nova Adepticon tournament, and I had the paper planned up. Hold on. So, just giving a kind of a little preview into what's going on. I put out the pack, the Nova Open pack, and got some interesting feedback on it, which is fine. most of the feedback that I got was, hey, this looks good, but why did you choose so many objective missions? And I feel like I need to sort of justify that a little bit. And I'm going to pull up the Grand Tournament. Here we go. Hold on. Copy and put this in here.
While you're doing that.
Yeah.
But so your whole idea of group play and then single elims, no one had issues with that?
No.
I thought that was the interesting thing, and people would have been like, this is different and weird and I don't like it.
Right? Yeah, I know. And I think I need to explain that a little bit, and my system's going really slow because I just pulled up a nice big fat.
We can still hear you fine. Your camera's frozen,
Yeah.
but we can still hear you fine.
I just pulled up I pulled up a big PDF and it's starting to freak out a little bit. It's resolving the host. So anyway, so yeah, look, what I wanted to do is get away from the Swiss pairing thing. I understand why people use it. I understand why when you're playing an 800 person Warhammer 40K tournament, why you need a Swiss style thing, because you can't play 400 games or whatever it is to get down to the actual winner, right? Like you just don't have the time to do it. And the Swiss style pairing, puts the winners versus 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 the winners until you get down to like a top winner, right? Overall. And so the thing is that with 32 people that's playing a Warcry game, I think that you have the ability to do a more traditional tournament style. And when I say traditional tournament, I'm talking about, we all played in sports leagues growing up. Like you watch the World Cup in like soccer or rugby or any of these other things where you have pool play, and then you get the winners of the pools, and then they move on to the elimination brackets, right? And I'm putting those in quotes, so elimination brackets, which is like the single elimination play. And then you have your consolation matches along with that. And so I said to myself, like, why can't we actually have that for the Nova Open, where we have some pool play, and then, the winners will play, the number ones in each pool will play each other for the finals. The number twos will play each other in the finals. The number threes will play each other in the finals. And so you end up having basically 4 pools of 8 people, okay? In those pools, you will use the Swiss style pairings to rack and stack everybody who's in that pool play after 3 games. And then the number ones will do a semifinal final. The number twos will do a semifinal final, etc., all the way down to the number 8s that will play each other. So, after your round 3, you essentially have 8 mini semifinal and final tournaments that will play each other. I thought that this was an advantage for a couple of reasons. One, it allows players who are on the same competitive level to find each other faster, right? So the guys who are bringing maybe a very casual list, they just want to play in a tournament and have fun, they're not super interested in being in the top table, they're going to find their people really quickly, probably as quickly as round 2 or 3, to play at the level that they have brought their list, at the level, like if somebody brings in just a straight Rottmeyer Creed list with no allies or anything like that, they're going to struggle against Justin Orton's like double, Gut Lord, like, yeah, Gut Lord list with 2 Brugets, right? Like, they'll get crushed, but they'll find the other Rottmeyer Creed guy or whatever pretty quickly in this system, right? Which means that they will end up having an enjoyable tournament for it, even though it can be very competitive, right? And what I do like about this too is that it ends up giving you a solid ranking. The final table that you play will be your first and second place guys, rather than in the Swiss style pairing, the final table that plays, the winner will be the winner, but the guy who loses might drop down to like 3rd or 4th place because of like how the points worked out and things like that. So
okay,
yeah.
So I I wasn't sure about how the final standings would shake out, but again, it was your tournament. I didn't want to second guess you. Plus, again, I'm not likely to make it. I still have my ticket, but it could go back to the pool. So if you're in the waiting pool, fingers crossed. I got a work thing the day before, and so I'll likely be driving up the day of the tournament unless I do an all-nighter and play the competitive tournament on like no sleep, which doesn't sound fun. But who knows? If I'm feeling really, really froggy and confident in my skills, I might. I have a list picked out, but I have to paint it, and that's a whole deal too. But
yeah.
Anyway.
So the standings to me was the biggest part, right? Like that was the thing that I wanted to get to. Like, hey, I want a very clear cut 1 through 32. Like how did everybody end up? I wanted the first 3 games, and so you had to do the pool play to be able to get to that final number in only 5 games with 32, right? Like you needed to do that. And so, I think that this is going to be a good opportunity. I think what it'll do is it'll make the pool play games very meaningful because you're still playing for that top spot in the first 3 games. And the person who goes, the distance will be 5-0 at the end of it. So I think it'll be pretty good. So you guys have any other thoughts on that tournament kind of layout?
Now that you kind of bring it up, it kind of reminds me of, I'll use the Magic analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a draft tournament, you play a pod of 3, you play 3 rounds in a pod, and then you're reseeded into a brand new pod with people of like records.
Yep.
So you're not necessarily playing everybody. So from that perspective, I kind of see where you're getting at there.
Yeah. I'm curious about how it will work. Again, like I really hope that all 32 people are there and we can run this the way that we really would like to run it. And if there's less people, we can pivot, and I've got plans for that as well. It's not as easy as a tournament to run as if you're just running straight Swiss pairings, because it's easy to be like, okay, winner versus winner, that type of thing. Now, one thing that we had to do is we needed to adjust the point system to make it more interesting in the pool play, so that it wasn't just like if you won, it was a straight 20-0 because the other person didn't kill half of your warband, right? Like we needed to make the point system more meaningful. And I think that we came up with a way that the close games are going to be rewarded for being a close game. Right. That's the one thing like I really hate about the current scoring system is that like I could have a massively close game where I only actually lose by 1 victory point. But because I didn't kill more than half of the models, I got a 0 for my score, and it was like down to the last dice roll. And I'm like, that just doesn't seem fair to me.
I'm with you 100%. So I ran a tournament not last weekend, but the weekend before. And we had some very, very close games that wanted to be in 20-0s or 15-5s, but it was like a single VP or 2 VPs or a single die roll decided the game. And I was using BCP, so I was stuck by that. Again, I'll use a kill team comparison. Kill team is very, very elegantly designed in that your primaries, it used to be your primaries are always 12 points max for your primaries. Right. Your faction secondaries were always 6 points, 2 points for being painted. I think they changed it in the latest pack, but it was always a fixed amount of points. And your wins and losses mattered, but your margin of victory also mattered. Mm-hmm. So me personally, I want to see that as well. Just some sort of normalization of the pointing for all the missions. I would love to see that, just like Kill Team. Now, there's drawbacks to that as well. We haven't had our tournament cast, but Fred and I had discussed it back and forth quite a bit. Peter Mercencabbage was at our tournament as well. Mm-hmm. We chat about it with him, and he'll probably be on to talk about it as well. But there's some drawbacks to it as well. You could run up the score. You could just, if you're already winning, you want to win by as many points as possible. There's a negative player experience there. Some of the games that were close because someone like Fred had the game locked up. He knew he was going to win. He decided, I'm not going to grind this guy into the dirt, and it wound up being within a point or two, but he was well ahead and had the game well in hand.
Yeah.
The outcome was never really in doubt after a certain point. So maybe the scores were kind of misleading in that case.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I guess it kind of
it's a good point.
Depends on, as a TO, what sort of competitive environment do you want to encourage. I'm more in favor of the kill team tournament thing, right? Yeah, may the best man win. And given equal players going up against each other head to head, I don't think you're going to have a lot of lopsided games. But again, this is Warcry, and I think you could probably take, the Warcry tournament population is probably about a 50-50 split, maybe 60-40 between players that know what they're doing and are playing to win versus, hey, I got a one-box warband. I like this casual game. Let's play.
I agree. But the flip side of that coin though, Warren, and I totally take all of your points seriously, because I think they're spot on. But the flip side of that coin is that the player that, there's the player that could run up the score, right? Well, there's also the player that said, well, I'm not going to win this game, so it's fine, let's call it. Right.
Yeah.
But now they can say, well, I can at least make it close. So instead of only getting 1 battle point, I can get 7. You know what I mean? And I'm going to push myself harder to try to make this a much closer game, because I know that even if I get a loss, I'll get rewarded for that loss if I continue to play to the end. So that's the direct flip side of the coin of like running up the score, right? Is that instead of just being like, oh, I'm done, and let's go get a drink or something like that, you're going to play it to the end because you can make it something other than 20-0, right? So
good intent.
Yeah. So I'm
encourage harder play. It's going to encourage harder play in a competitive tournament.
Yeah.
Right. People are gonna try hard to get as many points as they can, even if they are behind and they know they're going to lose. They're still going to try hard to get as many points as they can, because their effort still counts, even if the game is called.
So it'll be interesting. This is an experiment that we're going to be running. I think that Nova is a great place to run this experiment, because as I was looking at the roster of the names of the people who signed up, we've got a lot of veteran Warcry players that are going to be in there, right? And so I think it's going to be a very good place to try this out. Now, let me give you an example of what I had done. I worked on this with Jason a little bit. Mission 1 is Power Struggle, right? So the way that this works is 4 objectives are placed on the battlefield. At the end of each battle round, players score a number of victory points equal to the number of the current battle round for each objective shown on the deployment map, right? So if you hold all 4 in the 4th round, you could get 16 points, essentially, right? So what I did is I said, okay, well, what's the maximum points that you could score from this? If you held all 4 objectives, all 4 rounds, right? I did the math, and it was over 30 points. And so I started at 30-point differential, victory point differential. So if I held all of them, and it's more than 30 points, that was like such a major victory right there, right? So you would get 20 battle points at the end of your round, and your opponent would get 0 if you got more than 30 victory points, right? And then the table goes down. Now, I stole this sort of methodology from the Age of Sigmar group that has started doing this for their tournaments, right? Here, let me zoom in so you can kind of read it a little bit better.
Okay. So there's precedent for it in another tournament system. That's good to know.
Yeah. So I didn't just kind of come up with this on my own. And I will say this, that the Age of Sigmar community, a bunch of them love it, and some of them really hate it, because what they hate is that if they get paired up with another tough guy that is going to be a close game, then their victory points are close. It's not.
They're going to fight and claw. They're going to not only are they going to sweat to win. Yeah, they'll probably kill both their tie breaks in the process.
Exactly. So that is a concern for some of them that are like high level, and especially since the first round is random pairings, they could be paired up with like a really good player. They're all hoping they get paired up with a terrible player and then get the max points and then move from there, right? But whatever. That's Age of Sigmar. So you can see the sliding scale. So for example, if I won 14 by more than 14, or like, let's say I won by 14 victory points, right? I had 14 more than my player. I would get 15 battle points and they would get 5 battle points, right? 15 victory points is still a good chunk. And it goes all the way down to where there is no victory point difference. So you ended up tying on victory points. Both of you would get 10-10 as a draw, right? So it gets down to the draw. So, how does this work? Oh, and then with this, I added some bonus victory points in this game, right? So this is straight victory points that add to your total. So for example, let's say that I was winning by 7 victory points right here, but my opponent was able to kill my leader. They would get a bonus victory point, and maybe that would drop me down to the 6th tier and bump up their winnings a little bit. Right? There are points that they could take home. So I gave 3 bonus point victories that you could achieve in every game. Usually all of them has if the opponent's leader is killed, if the tournament quest was achieved, and then one that is kind of specific to the mission that you're doing. So like, for example, you could get a bonus victory point if all the objectives are held at the end of the round. You could get this 4 times in theory, right? But hopefully it's very unlikely that someone's going to hold all 4 points, all 4 rounds. And if they do, these victory points aren't going to matter. You're going to have so many victory points up here that, it's not really going to make a big difference. But anyway, so there's the sliding scale that we use. Now, how does this work in practice? The way that we rack and stack people, so we only have scoring tables in the pool play. We don't do a scoring table in the elimination because it's win or lose in the elimination to move on, right? So we only do the scoring table in the pool play, and you rack and stack you rank the people first by wins and losses. Okay, so the wins and losses is really going to matter. So if you win all 3 of your games, even if they're by a very close margin, you'll still be at the top of the game, right? So it's first by wins and losses. Then within that, so within 8 people, what you're going to have is you're going to have a 3-0 winner and an 0-3 loser, right? You're going to have 2 2-1s, 2 1-2s, and then some like in the middle or something like that, right? So within
probably
3 2-1s, yeah,
assuming no draws, 3 2-1s and 3 1-2s.
Yeah. So yeah, great. Yeah, perfect. So within those 3 1s, right? You have to rank those people, and this is where the battle points come into play, right? How did they do in terms of battle points? And then they'll, that will determine like if one guy had, 35 battle points, if the next guy had 23, if the next guy had 16, well, then that ranks him within the 2 1s, right? So that's where the battle points will come into play. If you have a tie on the battle points, there's other tiebreakers that we have in place just to rank them. But then once you get into past the pool play, it doesn't matter. It's win or lose for like winning your little bracket. So that's how I decided to set up the NOVA tournament. I hope that people enjoy it. I hope that it makes sense to them. And we'll see.
It's complex. And when I saw it, I was like, I'll be honest, I thought it was needlessly complex. Mm-hmm. But knowing that there was a method to the madness, there's some intent behind it, and precedent from other tournament systems. It's an experiment. I think you might have, there might be some things we didn't predict to come out of it. Yeah, but
totally.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. What I think might happen, you might not have a lot of 20-0s or 19-1s. I think those might be kind of rare. It would be interesting. Like, obviously you're going to have hard copy stats. I'd be interested in looking at the stats afterwards to determine, all right, what's our average VP differential on each mission, mm-hmm. right? You could very well have almost all 11 9s and 12 8s with very few 13 7s come out of a given mission. And that, I don't know if that's what you want or not.
100% agree with that. And I think what that does is it gives us data to think, one, is this the right system, right? Or two, does this need like the bones behind it are good,
right?
And
Too
how
much
do we
fidelity, tweak your bracket some.
Yep, exactly, right? Like so the bones behind it are good. How do we do it? And three is like, is this a scalable system? Could we package this to send it out to other people who want to do a tournament organization and be able to run it? Do you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of questions that are going to like come up during the tournament that you know, like we didn't really plan for. That we'll just have to like kind of learn from. But I think there's going to be some interesting data that comes out of it that I hope, in my opinion, changes the tournament landscape for Warcry, because I don't like the current system as is. I don't like the 20-0s that we get. I don't like the 15-5s that we get. I think it's garbage, and I think that there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, if you're using BCP, I felt very, very hamstrung by BCP. It was okay. Like, it did my tie breaks fine, but if I felt hamstrung because it was set based on the by the book Warcry scoring. Yeah.
So one of the feedbacks that I got, like I said, it was the mission, and I know that we're kind of running into time here, but I had, because I am doing the scoring tables here, right? I chose 3 missions that had the opportunity for high point counts. Okay,
and they all and this is just as I assumed. Your objective missions tended towards fitting into this scoring paradigm.
Right. Like, so Reaper doesn't fit into the scoring paradigm, right? Because it just doesn't. So with that said, I was talking with Dan from the Salty Sea, and he was saying, hey, I think that we can take, I can't remember if it's the Hidden Vault or the Cursed Relic mission, the treasure mission, and we can adjust the points that you score from it to fit a table like this. So I think what we'll be able to do, and we're still kind of noodling it out, is drop one of these objective-based ones. So I have Power Struggle, I have Ley Lines, and I have Supremacy.
Treasure, I know you could do it with Treasure Hunters, right? Because there's 6 up for grabs, and you score 1 point.
I think it's Treasure Hunters. Yeah, exactly. I think Treasure Hunters would work. So I'll probably end up dropping one of these ones. The one that I have, so I have Mission 4 is Reaper, and Mission 5 is Season Control. Season Control is one of my it was probably my least favorite one. It's the last one I added into the mission pack here. I may end up moving Ley Lines up, right? And then putting in the Treasure Hunters and replacing Season Control. Because I do like Ley Lines. I think Ley Lines is a great mission. And so I think that there's an opportunity for us to do that there. So,
but regardless, you're probably still looking at 3 objective missions out of 5, which is gonna tilt you towards your Rumble Pack Swarm meta, like the UK. And you also have a 4 objective, a 5. You have a 6er in there as well.
Yeah, with Supremacy one. Yeah, with Supremacy.
Yeah, those all. Right, and then the more objectives there are, the more you're just pushed to a swarm. Yep.
That's a very good point. And so I think I need to noodle this out a little bit more. At a minimum, we're gonna do a treasure mission in here instead of because right now I've got 4 objective missions out of 5, right? So being able to put 3 in there, maybe it works if I draw, if we don't have a 6 objective one. Or maybe we'll drop another objective one and put a different, like maybe a blood marked or something like that type of mission in there. So I'm going to noodle it out with Dan. I know that we're going to talk about it here up in a little bit, and I'll probably end up updating the NOVA Open pack here in a little bit. But I mean, this is kind of the NOVA Open as we see it. It's going to be a different way of doing things. So. And Jason's going to help me run this tournament, right, buddy?
Yeah. Sitting out, not playing?
No, because of the because we have wait lists and we have a full 32 tables. So I'm going to help Justin out with running the tables.
Good man.
And I think it's a great, like, if we've got like 16 people, right? Like, it's not necessarily a hard like tournament to run. But when you've got 32 people and you're also trying to process paint scores and you're trying to, answer people's questions that they have, and you're trying to input, because we're not going to be using BCP for this. I even talked to the creator of BCP about this, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll try to think of a solution for you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're not like helping me out here, right?" So we're not using BCP, so we'll probably be using a Google Doc sheet.
It's fine. We'll write a little Python script or something. It'll be
there.
Easy.
You go. Yeah. So we'll be using something that we can put up there, no problem. And then and so yeah, Jason helping me out, like, and doing this is like really a tabletop and beyond event, I think is going to be great.
So scoring TBD, but the mission selection, back to the mission selection.
Yes.
You know when, not to put you on the spot, do you know when you're going to have your missions locked in? Because we're 2 months out from this, and people's war bands, coming from the perspective of someone who would be a serious tournament player for this, getting a war band, painting models, testing, etc.
Totally.
How much advance notice before the missions?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a great question. It's a great question. And to be perfectly honest, I had hoped to talk to Dan Herrera tonight about it, right? And kind of go through some options. So I think I'm going to hopefully tag up with him this week. And I'm going to be out of town next week. So I hope to put it out early next week for people to have, right? Because I do recognize that, yes, you're building war bands, you're painting them, you're going to try to test it out. You got to play test, maybe make some tweaks. You got to give more than 3 weeks notice, right, for it. So yeah, very true. So anyway, but yeah, I'm hoping to work out, and especially guys like you, Warren, and Dan, and Peter, who like has been with us like basically from the beginning. Like all your guys' feedback on this stuff, I really take seriously, because I know that you guys are just as committed to the game as we are, and that you guys do a lot of time analyzing the game, as much if not more than we do. So I want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward. So I don't want to be dismissive of anybody's feedback at all. I want to make sure that we make it a good tournament. So that's the plan there. So anyway, but Warren, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you getting on here. And,
happy to be on. And now I owe you. I owe you to be on mine. I've been on yours twice, and I'll have Peter on before you come on, so I owe you 2 now.
Well, I am happy to come on. I'm sure Jason's happy to come on at any point, and talk with you guys. So just tell us the topic and give us the time, and we'll be there. So
we get the tournament pack locked in. I'd like to have you in to talk about the tournament pack with my folks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be great. I'd be happy to do it for sure. Yeah, definitely. So thank you everybody for, putting up with us for the last hour and 43 minutes. We appreciate you guys listening. And this is why we do it, of course, that for our listeners out there. And, we appreciate all the support that we have gotten from folks. And if you guys have any questions about the NOVA Open tournament, you can tag me in the Warcry Discord. I'm Justin O. Smith 12 in there. And, you can also join our Discord, which is below in the description. Jump on there and, hit us up in our Warcry channel. We've got a small but very active Warcry crew that's in there. We talk a lot of shop in there, which is great. And if you would like to join us, we would love to have you. So jump on the Discord and come talk shop with us. So thank you, everybody, for listening. And, we'll see you all at the tables. Have a good night.
See ya.